Life is not measured by the days we live, but by the impact we leave behind. Some names fade with time, while others carve their legacy into the hearts of generations. There are those who merely exist, and then there are those who carry a fire so bright that the world cannot help but take notice. There was a man whose voice echoed across nations, not for fame or wealth, but for a purpose greater than himself. He did not seek the applause of men, but the transformation of souls. His journey was not one of comfort, but of calling, a mission that defied borders, cultures, and resistance. His words were not just spoken, they awakened. His presence was not just seen, it was felt. He understood that true greatness is not in personal achievement, but in surrendering to a cause higher than human ambition. The question is not whether such a life is possible, but whether we are willing to walk that path. What made him different? What fueled his passion? And most importantly, what can we learn from his journey before it's too late? There are those who live their lives reacting to circumstances, moving wherever the winds of life take them. And then there are those who are driven by something deeper, something unshakable. A man with purpose does not wake up asking what the day will bring. He wakes up knowing what he must do. He does not wait for inspiration to strike. He moves with conviction, fueled by a vision that cannot be ignored. His steps are not random. His decisions are not careless. And his efforts are not wasted, because every moment is aligned with something greater than himself. He understands that a life without purpose is a life without direction, and a life without direction is a life without impact. Purpose is not something that is stumbled upon, it is something that is pursued. It does not come to those who sit in comfort waiting for clarity. It reveals itself to those who step forward in faith. The difference between those who leave a mark and those who disappear into obscurity is not talent, opportunity, or resources. It is the relentless pursuit of something beyond themselves. A man of purpose does not waste time comparing himself to others because he is too focused on his assignment. He does not drift between ideas, constantly searching for the next thing, because he is anchored in what he was created to do. He is not swayed by distractions because his vision is clear. When others hesitate, he moves. When others doubt, he believes. When others give up, he endures. Purpose brings clarity, and clarity brings power. When a man knows why he exists, he stops being enslaved by the opinions of others. He no longer seeks validation from the world because he is already affirmed by his calling. He does not chase approval, applause, or acceptance because he is not living to impress, he is living to fulfill. He is not swayed by fear because he understands that the greatest failure is not in trying and falling short, but in never trying at all. He knows that comfort is the enemy of purpose. And so he is willing to endure discomfort, rejection, and opposition to see his mission through. A life driven by purpose is not an easy life, but it is a life of meaning. It demands sacrifice, discipline, and unwavering commitment. It requires waking up every day with the same fire, even when the results are not visible. It means standing alone when others walk away, pushing forward when the path is uncertain, and believing when doubt whispers that it is all in vain. The journey of purpose is not for the faint of heart, but for those who refuse to settle for an existence that is ordinary. The weight of purpose shapes a man. It refines him, strengthens him, and transforms him. It pushes him beyond his limits, forcing him to grow into the person he was meant to be. Purpose is not about personal gain, but about serving a cause greater than oneself. It is not about status, but about impact. It is not about being remembered, but about making a difference. The greatest lives are not the ones that were lived in comfort, but the ones that were poured out completely for something that mattered. The question is never whether a person has purpose. The question is whether they will rise to it. Convictions are the foundation of a life that cannot be shaken. A man without convictions is like a leaf in the wind, moving wherever circumstances push him, never standing firm, never making an impact. But a man who holds to his convictions, no matter the cost, becomes immovable. He is not defined by the shifting opinions of the world, because his truth is not borrowed, it is deeply rooted. He does not seek to please the crowd because his loyalty is to something far greater than human approval. The world may change, trends may rise and fall, but he remains steadfast. His beliefs are not for sale, his values are not negotiable, and his commitment is not temporary. There will always be pressure to conform, to compromise, to adjust principles in order to fit in or to avoid conflict. Many start with strong beliefs, but over time they dilute them for the sake of convenience. They fear rejection, criticism, or opposition, and so they adjust little by little until they no longer stand for anything at all. But a man of conviction understands that the moment he surrenders his beliefs for the comfort of acceptance, he loses his foundation. He does not change with the times because truth does not change. What is right remains right even when it is unpopular. What is true remains true even when it is attacked. Convictions are not proven in comfort. They are tested in adversity. It is easy to hold strong opinions when there is no pressure. But true conviction is revealed when there is a cost. A man who believes in something only when it benefits him does not truly believe it at all. Conviction is standing firm when it would be easier to remain silent. It is refusing to bend even when compromise promises an easier path. It is choosing integrity over convenience, truth over popularity, and principle over personal gain. It is understanding that real strength is not found in flexibility, but in unwavering resolve. A man with unshakable convictions does not fear opposition because he expects it. He does not panic when he is challenged because he knows that standing for something will always bring resistance. He does not waste time arguing with those who do not understand because his focus is on living out what he believes. He does not need approval to validate his beliefs because he is already convinced. He is not swayed by manipulation, threats, or promises of reward. He knows that the only thing more costly than standing for truth is failing to do so. Convictions are not inherited, they are built. They are developed through discipline, through seeking wisdom, through standing firm in small things, so that when greater tests come, the foundation does not crack. A man who compromises in the small things will not stand in the big moments. But a man who practices conviction in every area of life will not waver when the pressure increases. He understands that conviction is not just about words, it is about action. It is not about declaring what one believes, but living in a way that proves it. It is not about speaking boldly in comfort, but standing firm in challenge. A man without convictions will always be controlled by something, whether it is fear, the opinions of others, or the desire for ease. But a man with convictions is truly free. He does not live at the mercy of external pressures. He does not change to fit the world around him. Greatness is never an accident. It does not come to those who wait for the right moment or hope that success will find them. It belongs to those who are willing to do what others will not, those who embrace discipline when others seek comfort, those who push forward when everything in them wants to stop. Work ethic is the separator between those who dream and those who achieve. It is the hidden force behind every remarkable life, the invisible effort that builds visible results. A man who understands this does not rely on inspiration to move him. He moves whether he feels like it or not. He does not wait for motivation to strike. He acts because he knows that purpose demands consistency. He does not waste time looking for shortcuts because he understands that anything truly valuable requires sacrifice. There will always be those who admire the results of greatness but refuse to embrace the process that leads there. They want success without struggle, achievement without effort, impact without the price that must be paid. But a man with relentless work ethic understands that what is easy is never what is lasting. He does not chase convenience because he knows that endurance produces character, and character produces results. He is not intimidated by hard work because he knows that every great accomplishment is built on small, unseen efforts repeated over time. The difference between those who rise and those who remain average is not found in talent, intelligence, or opportunity. It is found in the willingness to do what others neglect. A man with a relentless work ethic refuses to be controlled by excuses. He does not allow setbacks to define him, nor does he permit obstacles to stop him. He understands that difficulty is part of the journey and that nothing worth achieving comes without resistance. He does not wait for ideal conditions to begin because he knows that perfection is an illusion. He works with what he has, where he is, and trusts that effort and consistency will produce the results in due time. He does not need external validation to keep going because his drive comes from within. He knows that even when no one is watching, every effort counts. Discipline is the foundation of all achievement. It is what separates the committed from the casual, the serious from the passive, the impactful from the insignificant. A man who understands this does not approach his work with laziness or inconsistency. He does not engage half-heartedly, giving effort only when he feels inspired. He treats every moment as an opportunity to grow, to improve, to refine his skills. He understands that mastery is not built in a day, but through years of dedication. He does not fear repetition because he knows that repetition creates excellence. There will always be those who look at the success of others and wonder why their own lives remain stagnant. They fail to see the hours of effort, the late nights, the early mornings, the sacrifices made when no one else was paying attention. They desire the rewards without embracing the process. But a man of relentless work ethic does not seek recognition, he seeks results. He does not need applause to keep going because he understands that true success is not in being noticed, but in becoming someone who cannot be ignored. The path of discipline is not easy, but it is the only path to true achievement. It requires consistency when the excitement fades, effort when there is no immediate reward, and perseverance when the results seem distant. It demands a mindset that refuses to quit, a heart that remains committed, and a spirit that embraces challenges rather than avoids them. A man who understands this will never be defeated by difficulty because he has already chosen to outlast it. True influence is not measured by the number of people who know your name, but by the depth of the impact you leave on those who cross your path. There are those who chase recognition, seeking platforms and applause, and then there are those who serve with humility, allowing their work to speak for itself. The world often equates power with dominance, but real influence is rooted in humility. A man who understands this does not elevate himself, he lifts others. He does not use his position to demand respect, he earns it through his character. His leadership is not about control, but about service. And because of this, his reach extends far beyond what words or titles could ever accomplish. Humility is not weakness, it is strength under control. It is the ability to stand before crowds yet never become consumed by pride. It is the wisdom to recognize that no achievement is truly self-made, that every opportunity is a gift, and that every platform is a responsibility. A man with this mindset does not seek to impress, he seeks to impact. He does not live for the approval of others because his purpose is greater than human validation. When the world praises him, he remains grounded. When the world criticizes him, he remains steadfast. He does not rise and fall with the opinions of the crowd because his foundation is built on something unshakable. There will always be those who mistake humility for insignificance, assuming that power belongs to the loudest voice in the room. But a man of true influence knows that the strongest presence is not always the one that demands attention. It is the one that transforms lives through quiet, consistent action. He does not seek to dominate conversations, but when he speaks, his words carry weight. He does not boast of his accomplishments, yet his work is undeniable. He does not seek to be above others, yet his example elevates those around him. His authority is not in titles, but in the way he lives, in the integrity of his decisions, and in the sincerity of his heart. The most enduring influence is not built on charisma, but on character. It is not sustained by popularity, but by purpose. A man who understands this does not measure success by numbers, wealth, or status. He measures it by the lives he touches, the values he upholds, and the legacy he leaves behind. He is not concerned with how many people follow him. He is concerned with leading them towards something greater. He does not manipulate or deceive to gain influence because he knows that true impact cannot be forced. It must be earned. His influence is not temporary because it is not built on shallow foundations. It is rooted in something lasting, something that will continue to inspire long after he is gone. A man of humility does not feel threatened by the success of others because he does not see life as a competition. He understands that leadership is not about being the best, but about bringing out the best in others. He is not afraid to share knowledge, to mentor, to guide, to encourage. He knows that real influence is multiplied when it is given away. He does not need to diminish others to feel important because he understands that greatness is not in being above people, but in walking alongside them. His legacy is not written in self-promotion, but in the countless lives changed by his quiet, consistent, and selfless dedication to a purpose greater than himself. Some voices fade with time, their words forgotten as soon as they are spoken. But there are those whose words transcend generations, echoing long after they are gone. A man who carries a message that speaks to the deepest needs of humanity does not just communicate, he awakens. He understands that words are not meant to entertain, but to transform. That the power of speech is not in how loudly it is delivered, but in the truth it carries. He does not chase relevance, bending his message to fit the trends of the day, because he knows that truth is not dictated by culture. He does not soften his words to make them more acceptable, because he understands that real change comes from challenge, not comfort. The impact of a message is not determined by how many people hear it, but by how many lives it changes. There are those who speak only to be heard, their words empty and forgettable, and then there are those who speak with conviction, their words carrying weight because they come from a place of deep understanding. A man who knows the power of his message does not waste time on meaningless talk. He does not dilute his purpose by saying what people want to hear. He speaks what they need to hear. He does not fear rejection because he knows that truth has never been popular. He does not hesitate to challenge mindsets because he understands that transformation begins where comfort ends. A message that transcends generations is one that speaks beyond the moment. It is not built on temporary emotions or shifting opinions, but on unchanging principles that remain relevant no matter how much the world changes. A man who carries such a message does not look for approval before he speaks, because he knows that truth is not measured by how many people accept it. He does not alter his convictions to fit the times, because he understands that what is right does not expire. He does not concern himself with whether his words will be welcomed, because his purpose is not to please, but to awaken. There will always be resistance to truth. There will always be those who reject what they do not want to hear, who attack what makes them uncomfortable. But a man with a message that transcends generations does not speak for the approval of the present. He speaks for the impact of the future. He does not measure success by applause, but by transformation. He understands that what is truly powerful is not how many people like his words, but how many lives are changed by them. He does not seek to be remembered. He seeks to make a difference. The weight of a message is determined by the life behind it. Words without integrity are powerless. But when a man's life aligns with his message, it becomes unstoppable. He does not just speak, he lives what he speaks. He does not just instruct, he exemplifies. His words carry authority because they are backed by action. His influence lasts because it is built on authenticity. His legacy continues because it was never about himself, but about the truth he carried. He understands that words may inspire in a moment, but it is the consistency of a life well lived that gives them the power to last beyond a single generation. A man's life is not measured by the years he lives, but by the impact he leaves behind. Some move through life accumulating possessions, chasing temporary success and striving for recognition, only to reach the end and realize they have built nothing that lasts. But there are those who understand that true significance is not found in what is gained, but in what is given. They do not live for themselves. They pour themselves out for something greater. They do not seek to be remembered for what they achieved, but for the lives they touched, the truth they stood for, and the example they set. Their legacy is not written in wealth, power, or fame, but in the transformation of those who encountered their purpose-driven life. A man who leaves a legacy does not waste his time on what is temporary. He is not consumed by the pursuit of comfort or controlled by the fear of losing what he has gained. He understands that everything material fades, but the seeds sown into others will continue to grow long after he is gone. He does not hesitate to give his wisdom, his time, his energy, because he knows that the greatest investment is not in things, but in people. He is not concerned with making a name for himself because he knows that a life well spent speaks louder than any recognition ever could. He builds something that cannot be erased, something that will continue to inspire, guide, and challenge long after he has taken his final breath. A life that leaves a legacy is not one without struggle, sacrifice, or hardship. It is a life that has been tested, refined, and strengthened through adversity. It is not a life lived in the pursuit of ease, but in the pursuit of purpose. A man who understands this does not run from difficulty, but embraces it, knowing that true strength is forged in the fire of perseverance. He does not allow obstacles to stop him because he knows that the work he is doing is bigger than himself. He presses forward, not because the path is easy, but because the outcome is worth it. He does not waste time complaining about what is hard. He focuses on what must be done. There will always be those who start strong, but fade away when the weight of responsibility becomes too great. They begin with passion, but when challenges arise, they retreat. But a man who leaves a lasting impact is not one who simply starts well. He finishes well. He does not give up when recognition fades, When opposition rises, when the road becomes long, he does not look for an escape when things become difficult. He remains steadfast, knowing that endurance is what separates those who are temporary from those who are eternal. His vision is not on what is seen today, but on what will last beyond him. A true legacy is built not in a single moment, but in the daily choices that shape a lifetime. A man who understands this does not waste opportunities. He does not assume there will always be more time to make an impact. He understands that every decision, every action, every word is creating something that will either last or fade. He does not wait for the perfect circumstances to start making a difference. He moves with urgency, knowing that life is brief and purpose cannot be delayed. He does not hesitate to give, to serve, to teach, because he knows that his influence is not for himself, but for those who will come after him. The greatest lives are not those that were lived for personal gain, but those that were spent completely for a cause beyond the individual. A man who truly leaves a legacy does not fear the end because he knows he has given everything. He does not cling to what he has built because he has already passed it on. He does not seek to be remembered, but he is impossible to forget because the impact of his life continues through those who carry forward the fire he ignited.